Hey everybody, Jenna K here. Today I wanted to talk about what it feels like and looks like to be a people pleaser. If you're here, I'm guessing either you are one or you know somebody who is. So it's interesting to think about. Why, if you have strong core values and strong opinions, do you find yourself in a position where you don't advocate for yourself? So most of it is tied to the concept of low self esteem. Sometimes that's because of our childhood experiences, our environment. It could be related to trauma, but there's generally certain traits that we follow when we're people pleasers. Now, some of these things might resonate with you. Where I have a personal example, I will explain it. Um, Not everyone may apply to you or someone you know, but it might give you a good understanding why you behave in ways that you do. So, first of all, ask yourself the question, do you find yourself seeking the approval of others? Do you ever wonder why you do that? Why do you put other people's needs before your own? And does it bother you? So when I ask myself that those very questions, I know why I put the needs of others before my own. I was so focused on helping them that I really didn't have to deal with myself. I didn't have to deal with my past. I didn't have to deal with, the experiences that I had when I was a child. And it didn't really bother me too much until I really have taken the time to do some self reflection. I am a journey to figure out who the heck I am. And one of the things that I concluded is that there have been times in my life where I didn't advocate for myself. I felt like a sheep. We all know what the phrase sheep means. I went with the common belief system, so I didn't make waves. I avoided conflict and I did want to inflict unnecessary pain on myself. So I did adapt. As a therapist, a lot of times I was a really good read of the room. I knew and I could tell what kind of person I needed to be for each person that I was in contact with. And you may know that about yourself too. You may be able to act a certain way with your parents. You may be able to act a certain way with your peer group. You may adapt. A lot of times we put on a facade or we take on a certain persona in order to fit in. So, one of the personas and one of the things that we tend to do is do that to seek validation and the approval of the people around us. So, a lot of times the core root is low self esteem. Like I said, it could be related to your childhood. It could be related to the culture that you were raised in. It could be because of many factors, employment, education. Um, a lot of times, because we lack self confidence, we're overly critical. I know when I look in the mirror, I see every one of my flaws. It's not really about everyone else, it's really about me. Yes, I want the validation of the people around me. More so, I find that it's me seeking the approval of my mom. When I was growing up, I didn't really feel like I had that. I'm not saying that I was intentionally neglected. I think she did the best she could with what she knew, but I didn't feel that I had somebody to go to. I didn't feel unconditional love and support. So I grew up with whole host of problems. So as I dissect myself and go on this journey of self-discovery, this is one of the things that I have got to work on. I am incredibly self critical. It doesn't really matter what anybody else says to me. Do I want to fit? Absolutely. Do I want to be validated? Yes. But the one that I'm still struggling the most with is the approval of my mother. So I wanted to share some of the examples of approval seeking behaviors. Do you ever find yourself changing your opinion and not expressing your true feelings, even if you disagree with the topic or situation? People pleasers tend to lack self confidence in their own beliefs and may appear to agree just to avoid conflict and disapproval. When we are trying to fit in, the last thing that we want to do is make waves. Do you struggle to say no for fear of disapproval? So I know there have been times where I've so much wanted to say no, but I felt that would be a sign of weakness. I strive to be a perfectionist, and that's a whole different video that I'm going to be making. Is why do we feel so compelled to set the bar so high that it's almost unachievable? So I felt that if somebody asked me to do something, um, I didn't say no. I said yes because somebody needed me and I wasn't going to let them down. I wanted so much to fill the void, whether it be at work, at home, even at the expense of time for myself. There were times where I put my health, my well being secondary, even the needs of my children as secondary in order to find approval and to be able to find my sense of purpose, which was helping others. So it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting, both physically and emotionally. And it can lead to resentments, all on our wonderful quest for approval. So you have to take care of yourself, healthy body, healthy mind. And I didn't really feel the resentments until it was really too late. And I'll give you an example. I was working, for example, 80 hours a week, and that's not an exaggeration. I was doing everything that I could do to serve others, change the world, in my warped sense of um, thinking. I wanted to make my mom proud of me. I wanted to show my daughter and my son how hard, if you worked so hard, that um, you can really, really make a difference. And what happened is, I wasn't feeling very well, and I walked around for 7 days with a leaky appendix because I didn't have time to go to the doctor. I almost died. My blood pressure dropped so low. They had a lot of work to save me, but that's just a prime example. I should have said no. I should have put all the things on my to do list to the wayside and listened to my body and my mind. And so I encourage you to do that too. The road of life is paved with best of intentions. And us people pleasers, we were missing something in our childhood, in our past, that we are trying to fill the void for. We're trying to gain that missing component, often at the expense of what we need for ourselves. So, do you struggle with standing up for yourself? Being walked all over or being a doormat is easier than arguing with something that maybe isn't fair or right. I don't want to fight a battle that I cannot win, right? That's the perfectionist in me. I will at times, depending on the group, depending on the topic, just nod and agree with the room. That's not always okay because I walk away going, I really, really agree with that. I wish I would have said, I wish I could have done this differently. However, the people pleaser in me is more apt to be glad that I didn't create conflict than to make waves and share my own opinion. Now, if you fail to draw a firm line, what we do is sometimes the polar opposite of what we hope to achieve is gain acceptance and validation from those around us. So because we lack self-confidence, or if we don't debate, or if we don't press a topic, a lot of times people can read it in us. We have a tell on our face if we disagree with something. So a lot of times if we're not being our true selves and the people around us are wise enough, smart enough to pay attention, a lot of times they'll lose confidence in us and think less of us. Okay. So, appeasing rejection. Agreeing with another's point of view could be difficult, especially if it conflicts with your core values. There are certain things that are innate to us the what we want to accomplish, who we want to be, what we want to be known for. However, to avoid disapproval, a lot of times we act in a way that is against our own values. It's often pretty clear, and it often feels pretty darn exhausting to agree with something that we know that isn't true. Sometimes we feel pressured. Sometimes we do things that we don't like to do because instead of being rejected, we hope to be accepted. So in my case, a lot of times I'll do things, for example, that I'm tying back to my mother. I hate to keep bringing it back to her, that I always want to make her proud. So I will go out of my way to do things that will go above and beyond so that I can tell her about it and share things with her about my accomplishments. And this has got to be something that I work on, and it's going to be something that I continue to work on. But when I go to her, I don't know what I think is going to change, but it doesn't change. I still feel that sense of rejection. I'm never going to get her approval. I'm never going to do a lot of things, but I still keep trying. It's the want in me. You know, most young girls, they want to seek their mother, the same sex parents' approval. So a little boy might seek their father's approval. A little girl wants their mother to love them, nurture them, show them support. And if we don't get that, a lot of times we do things that are counterintuitive or against our grain. Okay. Do you lack confidence to advocate for what you think you're entitled to? So when we have adverse childhood experiences, I had little self-worth. I thought I was a mistake. I didn't think I had a right. I didn't think I was meant to be here. I didn't think I deserved anything. I was grateful for what I had, but I sure didn't think that I was worthy. So for example, and this slide says, when we receive bad service, we often want to complain. I know we've all had those experiences. I know when I get bad food service. Do I want to pick my battle? Maybe. Should I say something in the moment and offer honest feedback? Absolutely. But instead of complaints, I have caught myself, nodding, avoiding confrontation, not being honest about the situation or the experience, and then moving on. This actually reinforces a lack of self worth. A lot of times, for example, if you go to a restaurant, they know you provided bad service. They brought you cold food, they knew it, and you didn't say anything. That reinforces negative behavior. It doesn't teach them a lesson, and it sure as heck doesn't give them an opportunity to enact some changes. So honesty all around is going to serve you well. I know it hurts, and sometimes it's scary. You never know how the other person's going to react. But if you apply tact and healthy communication skills, as a therapist, I worked on anger management, so I know the what's the hows and how to fight fair. I just don't always apply those things in my own life. Okay. So sometimes we fake it. We develop a persona or an image that maybe only suits a certain forum or a certain audience. So I know when somebody comes to me and asks me my opinion about something, over the years, I've gotten a little better about saying, gosh, I really don't understand. I'm a little perplexed. Let me look into that. There was a time in my life, if somebody asked me a question, I would say yes, and I would make stuff up. Well, people knew if I didn't know, right? They were asking a question because they had a basic knowledge or at least an interest. And when I gave them a half-assed answer or an explanation that didn't quite make sense, they knew it. So instead of gaining the validation and the approval that I was looking for, oftentimes I would just look foolish. Okay, are you the first to apologize? This is a thing that I have found myself doing. This situation happens. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Um, I want to take responsibility. Um, and as a child, no matter whether I had a hand in any event in my household, I felt compelled to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that the weather's bad. I'm sorry that the food was undercooked, even though I wasn't cooking anything and I can't control the weather. But I felt compelled to say, I'm sorry. There are a lot of us that do that, right? We take responsibility for things that we didn't create or have a hand in the outcome of the event. So it's exhausting, right? Taking responsibility and taking the blame that we had no part of creating. So it's due to our lack of self confidence, our lack of self worth, um, that we really, really do take that blame. How do you overcome that? That's a hard question. We blame ourselves, we're our own biggest critic. So the first thing I've had to learn to do, and which I'm going to continue to learn to do, is think before I speak. I'm not going to say I'm sorry for things that I don't have any ownership for. Now, if I did, I will take absolute accountability. If I make mistakes, we all make mistakes. We're human, right? Then it's okay to say I'm sorry. Sometimes we misspeak. Sometimes we step on toes. Sometimes we do things that aren't intended. Then it's okay to say I'm sorry. The problem is us people pleasers, a lot of times we say I'm sorry no matter what the case is. Okay. So I know this applies to a lot of younger folks, but it persists even into adulthood. Do we want to fit in with the popular crowd? Well, generally, yes, right? We want to be in a larger peer group. We are designed by nature to be social creatures. We want to fit in. So, who do we want to fit in with? In my younger days, I didn't want to be the outcast. I didn't want to be alone. I wanted to be with the popular kids, for example. Sometimes we don't fit in with the popular people, so we find a group. Sometimes the group doesn't go along with what our true beliefs and our values are, but it is nonetheless a group. Okay, so how can you work on changing your need to seek validation from others? We often seek that validation to feel good about ourselves. It's important to remember that you have the power to create the happiness and confidence within yourself, but it takes work, it takes reflection, it takes validation, it takes really digging deep and getting to know you. So, in order to stop seeking validation from outside sources, you got to build yourself up. When you look in the mirror and start to say positive affirmations, instead of focusing on the negatives, think about the positives. We all have those. It's easier when you have, for example, you know, three A's on a test and one C, we focus on being a failure. If you flip the script, you're really not a failure. You had one outlier and room to improve on. So we need to create and foster a healthy, positive, and sustainable attitude. And that's not an easy thing. Every day is not going to be a good day, but you have to really create your own validation, because I know when I feel good about myself, I tend to attract people that are positive too. I know when I don't feel good about myself, I tend to attract people that don't feel good about themselves, or I tend to push people away. So the very thing that I wanted was to attract people and gain acceptance. I did the polar opposite. I ended up very, very much alone. Not lonely, but alone. So the fear of rejection is strong and it's very difficult to overcome, right? Nobody wants to be rejected. Learning to believe in yourself and being empowered to stand up for yourself takes practice, it takes courage, but I have faith that each and every one of us has that within us. So you're entitled. You are entitled, no matter what you grew up believing. You are worthy. You do deserve to be here. You are not a mistake. You are able to have your own thoughts, opinions, and beliefs. So everyone has struggles, but it's not impossible to overcome them, right? We all have things that we need to work on. We all have things that we wish would go different. But what you should do is find a support system. If you have strong family, maybe the struggles begin within your family. Family is not always blood. Family can be your best friends, people that you trust. It can be your spiritual community. Reach out to someone that you trust and talk about it. Um, Making positive changes and setting goals also can help and motivate you to get through difficult times. So I know I have quite the to-do list, and a lot of it has to do with the areas that I want to work on within myself. I know if I write it down, I love, love, love at the end of the day being able to check off a box that says I accomplished something. So do that. Find your motivation, whatever that means to you. Some people journal because they can see over time the progress that has been made. Some people have different methods to working on themselves, and I encourage you to find that strength within you. Maybe it takes a combination of things. Maybe it's having your friends or your family or your children hold you accountable. Maybe it's saying one positive thing to yourself every single day. But working through these things, this past that keeps you stuck, the ones that make us do things that we really don't like to do, the ones that make us the people pleasers, the ones that keep us stuck in our low self-worth, the ones that are going to really bring us from the darkness into the light. It's really going to be a possibility if you work hard enough. Okay, so please do hit the subscribe and the like button and share with anybody who you think it might be relevant to. I am on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok under IamJennaK. I would love to hear any comments, suggestions, feedback. I'm open to suggestions, and I'm hoping that if any of these areas resonate with you, you'll help me along my journey so I can help you with yours. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.